Today on Appointed to Promote, it is part 3 of my 4-part series on America at the Crossroads, where I will expose division and delusion, of which both play key roles today in the fundamental destruction of American society. And most importantly, I will also reveal the central yet hidden source behind this takedown, of which has been with us for decades, yet is completely overlooked by most Americans in the nation today. Therefore, I can assure you, my friends, you will not want to miss all of your evil exposing and defining answers. Stay tuned. Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to Appointed to Promote Television, where, as always, I cover for you current events through the biblical lens, while also covering Bible prophecy as well as Bible teaching, and all while never forgetting my main mission of this channel, which is promoting the gospel of Jesus Christ. And as always, I'm your host, Ed Walsh, happy and blessed to have each and every one of you here with me today, where last episode I was happy and pleased to present to you my 100th episode of ATP. That episode being the second part in my 4-part America at the Crossroads series, this time covering deception. Therefore, if you've not yet seen that program, I will leave a link for you to do so in the description box for this episode. Thus today, it will be part 3 in my 4-part series, of which will be the following: The Great American Divide, How Delusion is Destroying a Nation. And with that said, let me move on to what will be my first of multiple ominous topics for this evening, and which is undisputedly booming in America, and that is division. So the question becomes, how exactly is division being manifested in American society today? Well, here's a brief explanation of how it all works.
The political spectrum concept, if it has any meaning at all, is a measurement scale showing all the variations in government. Now, the extremists at the zero end would be those who advocate no government at all, the anarchists. The extremists at the other end would be those who advocate total government. And who are they? Well, the communists, of course. But also the Nazis, the fascists. No matter what they may call themselves, if they advocate total government control over the people, they are all, by definition, totalitarians. The opposing points of view properly are identified as individualism versus collectivism.
And as for the true source of what it is that you just saw, well, it was none other than one of my favorite fictional characters from one of my favorite all-time movies, that being none other than Sheriff Buford T. Justice, who said,
"And that's nothing but pure and simple old-fashioned communism."
And Sheriff Justice, I could not agree more. Now, I know that some of you out there may reject this notion, and some of you may even laugh. But I hate to say this, my good friends, if it is you who are laughing, it is ultimately the laugh that's really on you. For many people thought that communism, that evil that killed more than 100 million people in the 20th century alone, died along with the Cold War in 1989 at the fall of the Berlin Wall, and when U.S. President Ronald Reagan said this:
"Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall."
Well, my good friends, I can assure you it was not communism that died that day. But that's exactly what they wanted us to think. So let's unveil both communism and division for you now, for ultimately the two go hand in hand in our country today. Take a look.
I've been a human rights activist for almost 20 years. Prior to social media, people actually sat down to dialogue through their differences. Today, without solid evidence or sufficient inquiry, we go directly to our keyboards to vent our suspicions. In the words of former CIA Director William Casey, we'll know that our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. The planting of divisive rumors is one of the most common tactics used in psychological warfare. As the lies bloom, like worker bees, well-intended citizens pollinate the masses with poisonous disinformation. What the gossiping bees fail to realize is that they themselves are doing the work of controlled opposition.
Label them as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind.
The founding fathers were racist, misogynist,
fascist political party,
radicals on the far right,
anti-Semitic,
xenophobic,
transphobic,
Uncle Tom's
white supremacist,
domestic terrorist,
neo-Nazi organizer,
Nazis.
You are an anti-vaxxer.
Anti-vaxxers.
racist.
Name calling is their number one bullying tactic, and they apply it unremittingly to anyone who questions their dogma or says something they find unacceptable or offensive.
They're part of the system.
As they strike at the community's power centers. To justify violence, pressure from below then involves using their influence over the various mass membership organizations of the country to create the appearance of great popular support for these recommendations. Of course, the members of those organizations must never suspect that they're being used to promote the communist program.
And there you have it. And so at that time, many people looked back at Joe McCarthy and thought he had a few screws loose. But as it turned out, it was ultimately Joe McCarthy himself who, though albeit unsuccessful, was ultimately the wise one. In 1958 came a book which should have been a country-defining required reading for all Americans. And the book was by Cleon Skousen, a former FBI agent, who in it documented the 45 communist goals. For the book was called The Naked Communist. And here are just a handful of these communist goals, and you tell me if any of these look like they are happening today in our culture or not. Number 1. To capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. 2. Continue discrediting American culture by degrading all forms of artistic expression. 3. Discredit the American Constitution by calling it inadequate, old-fashioned, out of step with modern needs, and discredit the American founding fathers, presenting them as selfish aristocrats. 4. Belittle all forms of American culture and discourage the teaching of American history on the ground that it was only a part of the big picture. 5. Break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. Number 6. Presenting homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy. 7. Discredit the family as an institution and encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. 8. Emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of their parents. 9. Get control of the schools and teachers' unions. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum and put the party line in textbooks. Number 10, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. And number 11, infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion. discredit the Bible, and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity that does not rely on a religious crutch. And my friends, I think it would be hard for any of us to debate that all of these communist goals with which it is that I mentioned are taking place in American society today. There are still 34 more of those communist goals, of which I didn't even cover with you this evening. And trust me, they're every bit as dangerous. Now, with deception, division, communism, socialism, and Marxism all touched upon in the first 2.5 episodes of this series, it's no wonder we now come to delusion. For today we see delusion on an unprecedented scale. And we should remember that the reason we see it and can recognize it is because it is the Bible of which tells us the following. And since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, God gave them up to a debased mind to do what ought not to be done. And this has led to an all-out and evil attack, and satanically so, against God's initial union of the family, and where the attacks on all things family, especially on our very own children and grandchildren, is something to behold. Therefore, strap yourselves in and take a look at this to gain a bit more insight.
My young comrades. Hi! This is my way of figuring out if you've been tainted by the patriarchy.
Patriarchy? Oh! This looks creepy.
It looks creepy. Why?
There's just like this thing about white people that just makes me be like...
Oh, looks like Donnie got a full cookie.
Because he's a white man.
Say it with me.
Structural racism! Yeah!
You may have wondered why the Communist Party has been a staunch supporter of the drive to place a black studies curriculum into our high schools and colleges. The reason becomes obvious the minute you take a look at the textbooks and the study guides.
Schools are now radicalizing our kids. I mean, this is the volume of the book from Critical Race Theory, and it literally says here, whiteness is a bad deal, and it has a symbol of Satan.
You gonna deliberately teach kids this white kid right here got it better than you because he white? You gonna purposely tell a white kid, oh, the black people are all down and suppressed? How do I have 2 medical degrees if I'm sitting here oppressed?
Not only is it in the schools, but it's in the workplace, it's throughout society. It's destroying this country.
Over the weekend, Democrats voted to ban gendered language in House rules. And that means no more terms like father or mother.
Is the administration's official policy to replace the term woman with birthing people?
Black birthing people.
Black birthing people. Black and indigenous birthing people.
You shifted in places from using the term mother to birthing people.
Again, if we're trying to be precise in the language that's used.
Mom's a pretty good word.
I'm not a birth person. I'm a mother.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You believe then that men can become pregnant and have abortions?
Yes.
Literally everything that was fought for women's rights is going straight down the drain.
This environment that has been created and corrupted and manipulated does not respect women, does not respect children, does not respect men. It cares nothing for family. So that's why they have to attack mother and remove father, because she's going to protect that child, he's going to protect that woman, and they both are going to protect society.
And there, my friends, we have the very delusion that the Apostle Paul himself talked about. And to prove just how dangerously deep this division goes, we're going to now take to the streets of downtown Minneapolis, as well as several college campuses of America, with a man by the name of Ami Horowitz, as he asks people 3 hot-button questions. 1, is there a genocide of black people taking place in America? 2, would you have personally supported the assassination of former President Donald Trump? And number 3, will you support Ami by giving him money so that he can eradicate Jews? Take a look.
Should we eliminate the judicial system completely?
Should we eliminate it completely? I'm gonna go ahead and give you the flat right answer of yes.
The judicial system, is it a white supremacist system, and should it be eradicated?
Yes.
How many black people were killed by cops last year? You have any idea?
100 plus? In just Minnesota?
No, around the country.
Oh, thousands.
Unarmed black people.
Thousands.
Seems like they're trying to erase, destruct the whole race of, the African American race.
Would you consider this a genocide?
That's a good question, and now that I've been confronted with it, I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
I mean, genocide means like the targeting of one race for its destruction. Do you think that's what they're doing?
Genocide of anybody that's not white.
Genocide?
Yes, most definitely.
Would you call what's happening a genocide?
Yeah, I think that's one word for it.
We need another civil war in this country in order for us to have true justice.
If that's what it takes, then we have to do it.
Should we take arms and start a civil war? Do we need another civil war now?
If that's what it takes, then I believe so.
Will it happen? Probably.
Should we just gather up the white supremacists and do street justice?
That would be ideal.
I don't want to say we need to go start killing all white folks, but it's like,
but
maybe they need to feel the pain and the hurt that all the minority people have felt for years.
Would you have supported the assassination of Trump?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Do you would support the assassination of Trump?
Sorry.
That's all right. Do you guys agree?
No comment.
I don't think I should say it on camera.
I think legally we probably shouldn't answer that kind of question.
It was a little bit of missed opportunity.
It was a missed opportunity.
Do you think that Trump, at the end of the day, will destroy our democracy?
I mean, not if they shoot his ass again.
Do you think our country would be better off if Trump was assassinated?
Sure, yeah.
If he was assassinated, would you lose sleep at night?
No. Wouldn't be extremely sad.
I would not really lose sleep over it.
Of course not.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't rent space in my head.
No.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't lose sleep over it.
The difference between wanting to have Hitler assassinated before he committed genocide and Trump?
I know. I look at them as two peas in a pod. They're to me, they're the same. It's just different names, different generation. Trump, though, I'm looking for your
2 days after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, 11 out of the 18 people I spoke to would have been happy if Donald Trump was assassinated. Money for arms and weapons to fight back against the Jews. We have to hit these people hard.
Yeah.
And we want to fund operations against soft targets. Schools, hospitals, Jewish cafes.
Because it's part of their religion, they wanted to take over.
So you think it's economic, or you think it's the religion motivating them?
I think it's a mix.
Keeping them controlled with genocide.
They're superior?
Yeah, a lot of them think that.
Jew-premacy?
I think their behavior and the actions are evil.
Says they want the land. It's a money thing.
How much money would you be able to do? It's tax deductible?
A couple bucks.
Like 5.
Also 5?
10?
Yeah, 5 to 10.
$15 right now. Say $15.
That'd be amazing.
I'll go 20.
20? Come on, brother. Come over, brother.
20 bucks.
I did 20 bucks.
Or 30?
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, just evil. Just straight up evil.
I couldn't have said it better myself. The rhetoric and demonizing Jews we have seen globally has led to this. 28 out of 35 people that I engaged in conversation with expressed support for what I was doing. And 17 out of 35, nearly 50% of people I spoke with, offered me money to kill Jews.
Can you say delusion in a nutshell, folks? For by believing the communist and corporate media's lies, we clearly now see the reason why black people run from the police, why people wish another person killed simply for their differing political views, and finally, just how deluded do people in this world have to be willing to eradicate the entire race of Jewish people again. And from that, there are 2 key verses from God's Word which I wish to share with you in summing things up. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. And from Jesus, we go to the book of 1 John, of which tells us, whoever claims to love God yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. And now in getting back to the point of black genocide, well, it's Professor Jen Jackson who says this: the goodness of cops is unimportant. They are employed in an institution meant to eradicate blackness. The philosophical principles of being a police officer are racist and anti-black. Yet apparently Miss Jackson somehow doesn't know that the number of unarmed black men that were killed by police officers the year in question wasn't thousands, such as the people on the streets said to Ami, but rather it was 7. And as for Trump qualifying to be Hitler, well, I don't remember him killing anyone, let alone 6.1 million people. And finally, are we a nation getting ready to pull the rug out from under our very best and long-term allies, those of the Jewish nation of Israel? For my friends, I can darn right assure you that when we do so, it will be the God of Israel who will return the favor by pulling the rug out from under us. And speaking of Israel, let us take a look at some finely sane and wise words, those of which came to us from none other than Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu while he addressed the United States Congress on a recent trip to America. And here were just a few of those powerful and very wise words.
Some of these protesters, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Some of these protesters hold up signs proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC. These protesters chant from the river to the sea, but many don't have a clue what river and what sea they're talking about. They not only get an F in geography, they get an F in history. They call Israel a colonialist state. Don't they know that the land of Israel is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob prayed, where Isaiah and Jeremiah preached, and where David and Solomon ruled?
And can I get an amen to that? For leave it to Prime Minister Netanyahu to put an end to the topic of delusion. So with all that you have seen here tonight, as well as all that you have seen in these 3 episodes of this series, how can America stand against all these lies, deception, division, and delusion, all of which are perpetrated by our nation's mortal enemy, that being communism? For at the end of the day, it is these mortal enemies who look to gain full and total control, while doing so by wiping out our very moral compass. And that comes from the God who has blessed this nation so richly for more than 200 plus years. At least until we told God to get out of our country. And thus, my friends, we wonder why we have the problems in our nation today that we do. For in what I believe is clearly the judgment of God upon America. For this political battle during this election season that we see is only a small part of the story. For it's not really a political battle, but rather a spiritual one. Therefore, let me again quote, for the 3rd time in 3 episodes, this great few words of wisdom from a pastor I once heard say this: the only difference between Democrats and Republicans who don't know Jesus is their politics. Therefore, my friends, even if you consider yourself a good and patriotic American citizen, the question you must ask yourself is, am I good enough to get into heaven? And with that, friends, I must level with you with all truth and discernment. For it is not only the God of America, but the God of all creation, past, present, and future, who will judge everyone Republican, Democrat, Independent, and the apathetic, all by the same standard. And that would be his, of which is perfection. So from there, the question becomes, how do you stack up against God's standard? For the Bible tells us that if we break just one law, that being one of God's commandments, that we have thus broken them all, and therefore that we cannot save ourselves. For as for salvation, it doesn't come from religion, neither does it come from the sacraments, merit, neither works, other mediators, tradition, nor by the glory of Mary and the saints, nor even by the Pope himself, but rather it is grace alone through faith alone in Christ alone. For if we add or subtract anything to Jesus, it's no longer Jesus. For it's the world that often tells us it's everything else but Christ, who means nothing. Yet the truth of the matter is, it's Jesus plus nothing that equals everything. For my friends, it is all about Jesus' life, death, and resurrection upon the cross, in which led him to defeat the powers of sin, death, and the devil, and all by doing it for you. Therefore, it is Christ who acts as the one and only bridge from man back to God. Therefore, if you hope to avoid eternal punishment in hell, you can't afford to be like the rest of the world, where they will search long and hard for their cell phone before it dies, yet will not begin to search for God before they do. Therefore, my friends, if you're hearing this message tonight, you've been given a great and amazing blessing and opportunity by the Lord who went to that cross for you. And to gain all of his benefits, all you have to do is admit that you are a sinner, believe that Jesus paid for your salvation on the cross, and confess that Jesus is Lord and call upon him for salvation. And at that moment, you will become a child of God and an heir of Christ. You will thus have your name added into the Lamb's Book of Life and move from darkness to light and from death to life, and that being eternally so in the presence of Jesus. Therefore, my friends, please do not delay, for there's no guarantee of a tomorrow. Receive and accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and only Savior, and to do so today. And with that said, that will wrap up my third part in my four-part series on America at the Crossroads, which therefore logically will lead us into my next upcoming episode. And it is Christianity and the 2024 election. What is at stake? Therefore, my friends, I can assure you, you cannot afford to miss this next exciting and essential episode. Thus, if you like the program today, hey, do me a favor, as always, comment, like, and subscribe to help me get the good news of the gospel out to the masses. As well, hey, please do not forget to hit the bell notification as well as the subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with all of the latest episodes of Appointed to Promote TV. And therefore, with that said, my friends, I will now leave you as I do each and every episode with my signature Bible verse for the channel as well as my life, which comes to us from the book of Colossians chapter 2, verse 8, of which tells us, see to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deception, according to the traditions of men, according to the elementary principles of the world, rather than according to Christ. Therefore, my friends, until I see you next time, God bless